everybody, if you don't know, this is, well, wait, Style in Your 70s dot
Right.
with Leslie B. Well, but her real name is Candace, so I'm going to be referring to her as Candace. And I just wanted you to know that I wanted to do some research on you. And I kept on trying to find your blog. And I kept on going to Style in Your 70s with, and
Right.
the blog didn't show up.
It's called
What is the name of your
A
blog?
Moment with Leslie B.
Well, God forbid. I mean, the way I found it was, Leslie is really smart. She's got a link tree on Instagram. And so she has moments. She's got a big Facebook group, not big. She's got a large Facebook group. She's on YouTube. She's on Instagram. She's on Amazon. She's got an Amazon store. She's got everything. She's really smart. But if you look at if you just click on the link tree, everything will appear. So everybody will know.
Well,
anyway, welcome. Let me tell you how this all started. A number of months ago, Leslie and I were both chosen by Associated Press as grand influencers. And so I introduced myself to Leslie and I said, hi, I'm a grand influencer too. How are you? Nice to meet you. And that's how it kind of started. And then I went to Leslie because she's skinny, she eats properly, she does yoga, she does arm exercises. You should see her arms. She does shoulder exercises. She does absolutely everything I don't do. And she's on YouTube and she's just got it all together. So I wanted some of it to be infused.
I don't think I can live up to all.
It hasn't so far. That what? Oh, but it is. You are. Yes, you are. You are. So the other day, I don't know if everybody knows, but I'm trying to, I tried stretching. I've been walking, tried stretching, and I was in so much pain. I'm talking about really pain. Well, I mean, it really hurt. That's what happens if you don't exercise for 2 years. So I contacted Leslie and I said, I'm going to do yoga. And I started on the very easiest. It was Adrian's Slow for Seniors, something like that. I could do that because I didn't feel anything. But then I tried to do a beginner and it was terrible. So I contacted Leslie and asked for help. Well, I asked Leslie for help about how she stays so thin, how she got her YouTube together, just how she's done everything. So tell us about your journey with yoga, because
well,
mine
I started
is terrible.
A really, really long time ago. Oh gosh, I think it was 1974 or something like that when I first got interested in yoga. Was before it was the thing, you know, it was before it was so popular. But then I got really serious about it when I was about 50, I think. And I found out that there was a tape on the market called Mind and Body. And it was a tape done by, do you remember Allie McGraw? I don't know if it remember, but Allie McGraw and Eric Schiffman did this beginner yoga tape, and it's called Mind and Body, and it's still available. It's still really popular. Of course, it's not a tape anymore. Now it's you can get it on YouTube. You can get it anywhere. So that was the first one that I did, and literally,
is that for real? Is that for real beginners?
When I look back,
or is it
no.
For
it took me a full year to learn to do the poses in that tape and do them the way they were doing them on the tape. Literally a full year. So by the time I didn't really start maybe where I should have started at a very, very beginner level, but I worked at that until I got it. And then after that, I started following Eric Schiffman, who was the yoga master in the tape, in the video. And I've been following him all these years. So I've gone to Kripalu Institute to work with him. I've gone to some other places and learned from him. I've always done it at home. I've always been self-taught. I took a few classes, but every time I took a class, I just felt like it wasn't giving me enough. And I also didn't like the fact that they were making it more into an exercise class than what yoga really is like, because yoga has a lot to do with the breathing and the mind and your state of mind at the time that you're doing it. And when I was in a yoga class, and it just felt more like, I don't know, calisthenics than it felt like yoga. So I just kept doing it at home.
But how did you get into were you limber enough? How did you get into poses and lift your leg up just the right way? I just
started to lift it where I could lift it, and you get better. I mean, you really do. If you do it consistently. The thing is, you like what I was telling you before, it's better if you don't try to jump into it all too much too fast. And that's why my philosophy with learning yoga is that you should, especially at an older age, that you should learn one pose at a time and just really learn the pose. Don't try to take a half-hour class.
Well, wait a second. Yeah, but if you, so all I do is stand there in a pose?
Well, you have to hold the pose. Well, it depends which poses you've tried. For instance, let's say tree pose. Did you try tree pose? You'd be standing on one leg with the other foot up against the leg you're standing on. Well, anyway, a lot and triangle poses are when you get into them correctly, and then you try to hold them for a while, especially if it's a balance pose. And then once you feel like you have done that pose, then you can do 2 or 3 poses together. It's called a pose flow. So you can go from triangle pose to tree pose to mountain pose.
But you start with just one pose, and then what do you do? Walk out the door?
You could do other exercises, or you could do the same pose several times. For instance, mountain pose. You probably at the beginning of a yoga session would do mountain pose and forward bend probably 3 or 4 times in a row. But then some of the
Is that how you learn? Okay, I'm writing this down. I'm writing down, wait a second. I'm writing down mountain pose. Okay, mountain pose. And what's the other one? Or wait a second.
If you go to YouTube, to my YouTube channel, there are 2 sets of beginner yoga exercises. One is called Beginner Yoga Series with Modifications. That's the very, very easiest one. That one shows you how to get into the positions using props like yoga blocks and yoga straps. And it gives you ways to modify the pose so that you can get into it. And then after you've tried all 8 of those and you feel like you've mastered all 8 of those sessions, then you can go on to the beginner yoga sessions, which have you do the poses without any modifications or without any props to help you do them. So
maybe I should just walk
really
out the door.
Easy.
What? Well, you know what? You're helping me now in explaining exactly what I should be doing. So I should really master those things. I must say, I've never breathed so much in my life, because this woman kept on saying, breathe.
Yeah, there's different
forms. Who breathes?
True, we don't really think about breathing very often. But there's different forms of breathing used in yoga. And there's certain poses where you breathe in at a certain point and you breathe out at a certain point. But that's way more than you need to know at the beginning. That I think it's too much to try to learn the breathing and learn the poses and learn how to put the poses together. That's just way too much in the beginning. It's a lot. It's to get the poses right. It's harder than it looks. So, and I just think easier if you've never done yoga before to, whether it's my site or anybody else's site, just learn the poses first, maybe learn 8 poses and then start putting them together in different order, however you want to. But if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see beginner yoga with modifications and then beginner yoga. I would start with the beginner yoga with modifications. There's 8 sessions. If you could do all 8 sessions in one morning, because it teaches you how to do each pose one at a time, and then go on from there.
Do you do other exercise? Oh, yes, you do. Because I've seen you with your arms.
Yeah, I do weights. I do treadmill. I alternate. One day I will do yoga, and the next day I will do weights and treadmill or walking, or my arm exercises, my leg routines. But I like every other day.
Okay, what time do you wake up?
About 6.
How do you get it all done? Because she said, wait, I need to go back. So what is your YouTube channel called?
Style in Your 70s.
People want to know your name.
With Leslie B.
How can they, and that's your
Instagram,
YouTube channel
Facebook,
also?
and YouTube.
Okay, Style in Your 70s with Leslie B. And so I asked, may I tell people why it's Leslie B? So, I mean, Candace makes me crazy. I'm a simple soul. So I said, wait a second, I'm calling you Candace. Am I calling you the wrong name? And she said, no. When she started on Instagram, YouTube, on being on the web, she wanted to be kind of anonymous. So she used her middle name. So now that she's famous.
I did it on I wanted to take, I was, actually the whole story, I'm trying to make it very quick, is that I was down here in Florida that year, it'll be 3 years ago this February, and I got pneumonia. And I was recovering from pneumonia. So I was laying around, was doing a lot of reading, I was bored to death. And I read an article in Vogue magazine about influencers. I had no idea what an influencer was. I had never heard of an influencer until I read this article. And so I read it, and then I thought, I wonder if there's any old influencers. So I started searching around. I knew a little bit about Instagram, so I knew how to look through it and everything. So I started looking around for, people in their 70s and 80s, and I didn't see you then, and I didn't see hardly anybody, and I was really new to looking, so I probably didn't do it right. But anyway, I didn't see any, so I thought, gee, I have a lot I want to say about aging. Wonder if I put something up, if I could do it. So on February of 2019, I put a post up, and I was thrilled because 10 people watched it and 10 people responded. And so then I posted every couple of days, and all of a sudden I started getting more and more people. Let me back up. The reason I did it under my middle name, Leslie, is because at the time I owned a senior housing community, and I really was kind of embarrassed to have my residents and my friends and everybody know that I was doing this. I mean, it seemed a little strange for this 70-some-year-old woman to be posting her picture all over the internet. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to let anybody know I'm doing it. So I thought I'll do it under my middle name. So not knowing I was going to have confusion later on with all these names. So I did it under Leslie, and then I picked B just because that was my maiden name, Bryant. So it was crazy, and it grew, and now it's a little complicated, but I'm going to just keep going the way I am.
You're doing you may be all screwed up, but you're doing something right, because you've got tons of followers, tons of people who want to hear what you say. So now there's another aspect, and that's your eating, because I thought, how can she's so tall and she's so slim. Tell us about your eating, because it's not like mine.
I don't think it's probably that different. Years ago, I gave up red meat. That was probably when I was in my late 30s. I'm not any strict anything. I just try to eat as healthy as I can. The one thing I do is I don't eat red meat, and I do eat a ton of vegetables. Those are two basics that I've been doing for a really long time. So my meals are basically mostly vegetables and then a side of something else, instead of, how most people eat. They'll have a steak and then they'll have a side of a vegetable. I reverse it. I have vegetables as my entree, and then I have something else as a side, a piece of chicken, piece of salmon. But I've been doing it for so long. It's just, I enjoy eating that way. I never did it to go on a diet.
Well,
I was just
go ahead. You've changed. All I can tell you is I'm getting more vegetables, and I'm eating more vegetables. So you're inspiring me. So I'm doing yoga, then I'm eating more vegetables. And do you think that maybe in a year I'll be like you? Maybe instead of in my 80s, I'll be in my 70s.
I want to be like you.
I'll go for it. Um, so I really, Leslie, Candace really inspired me when she told me about all the vegetables she eats. And I like vegetables. My husband does not. He does not like
I think
green
that's
stuff.
men. I think men eat less vegetables than women do.
Is that it? I thought it was because he was born in Pittsburgh, in that, it's a kind of a meat and
I was
potato kind of place. But you're in upstate.
uh,
Where were you born?
Greensburg, Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that, I didn't
Well,
know
I only
that.
lived there till I was 1, and then my parents moved to.
Oh, live in it. Oh,
Yeah, probably.
maybe it doesn't quite count. But I must say, I remember, being a native of Los Angeles, I remember going on a trip. My husband was filming in Philadelphia, and I went for lunch, and I ordered a salad, and they didn't have a lot of salads there. I wasn't used to. I'm so used to the salad culture
Yeah.
of LA, and I was just surprised that they didn't have the salads that they have here. But anyway, so I'm eating more vegetables. I had broccoli this week. I had these spinach frittatas, and what else? And salad, and I'm
Well,
trying to work it in.
They're really good.
So
They're
I'm
really
going to
good
get
for
there.
everybody. You can't go wrong eating a lot of vegetables. That's for sure.
And how did you get into exercise? I mean, was it just something you wanted to do? What
No.
Have you always been athletic?
Really not athletic. The only thing I did growing up was horseback riding and figure skating. So I don't know, those aren't really considered, well,
That's
they're
hard.
not considered.
Figure skating is.
But anyway, it was when I got older, after I had my kids, I've always had this thing about aging. It's always fascinated me. When I was growing up, I remember watching my mother's friends. She had this circle of girlfriends that she did everything with. And it just fascinated me how they age so differently over the years, and I always kind of, well, what made this woman have to deal with this? And why does she look like this? And why did, it just always fascinated me. And I have absolutely no idea why. But then later when I had kids, even more so, I think. I guess, you're more aware that you're getting older. And, so I started wondering about my own aging. And I remember standing in supermarket grocery store lines and looking at the magazines that are there and looking at the headlines on the magazines. And you know how they'll say, look your best in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I was like, what happens after that? I mean, that always bothered me because I just didn't think that life had to change that drastically as you got older. So anyway, that's when my fascination with aging and how you age started. And that was a big, contributor to my deciding I wanted to stay physically fit. So I started back then planning for what I want to be when I'm older. So every decade, I've always looked ahead and thought, well, how do I want to be as a person physically, emotionally, spiritually, when I am that age? So now I'm working on my 80s. You're a good example.
Thank you. You also used to work at a cosmetics counter.
Yeah. Oh, you read my blog. The blog.
That'll teach me.
Yeah, I worked at a cosmetic counter in high school and college when, summers and stuff. And I used to get so upset because these reps from these cosmetic companies would come in and they would tell us what to tell the customer. And even I, as a young girl, knew this couldn't be true. These ladies are not going to buy this $30 cream and suddenly be 20 years younger. That bothered me a lot. So I told everybody in the blog, that's when I asked to be switched to the toy department. So then after that, I worked in the department.
I love that. I love that. I'm with you. I use cosmetics and skincare for the most part because it feels good on my skin. If it doesn't, I really don't believe in miracles. They're not, if they would be shouting it to the sky if there really was a miracle. And I don't think there is. I think that if you keep your skin moisturized and with a moisturizer that feels good. You know, there are just some products. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be inexpensive. It's like, I like Olay's, is it Olay or L'Oreal's hyaluronic acid. It's in a clear bottle, and I like it. I've got others by it more expensive, but I like that one. Somehow it works. I like the way it works. I like the tube, you know, funny things like that. Or I like the way, I like the bottle. I like the way you use it, how it and that's what, and it feels good on my skin. I think that's, I don't know, I think I have sensitive skin.
Yeah.
So
that's a matter of fact, go ahead. I used Chanel products for many, many, many years. And then all of a sudden I developed an allergy. I started getting these red, hot, burning patches on my skin. It took me a while to figure out that it was coming from the Chanel. So I stopped using it. And then I went back to it and the same thing happened again. So then I was sure that that's what it was. So I went to my dermatologist and he told me to switch to CeraVe, C-E-R-B-E-A-V-E. And that stuff's very inexpensive. You can get it at every grocery store, every drugstore, and it worked great. And I completely got over my allergic thing. I used it for about 2 years. And recently I've tried a new one. It's kind of pricey, but from what I've read, it might possibly be a little different than the others. It's that Augustinus Bader. Have you heard of that?
Oh my goodness, yes. There's an ad, and Bobbi Brown was saying that's the only moisturizer.
Well, you know,
the
interesting thing about this is that he didn't set out to, I don't want to sound like an ad for him. I don't know anything, you know, I don't know anything for sure that it's really great. I just like it. He didn't set out to make a cosmetic. He's actually a researcher in burns for people recovering from terrible burns. And he developed these protocols, or I don't know, drugs that would heal people faster when they were recovering. And then there's a story, you can read the story anywhere if you Google it. Someone approached him about turning it into a cosmetic, which they've done, and now it's skyrocketed.
People have asked the name. It's called Augustin. Is it S-A-U-G-U?
It's Augustinus, U-S at the end. Augustin. Yeah.
Oh, Augustinus Bader, B-A-D-E-R. I haven't tried. How much is it?
Expensive.
You don't want to say. Okay.
But it does seem to last a long time. So I've been using it now for about a year. And the other thing is I've had absolutely no allergic reactions to it whatsoever. You know, I'm doing some experiments with it to see if it really, really makes a difference. Like, for instance, on my arms, because of the sun damage, I have a lot of spots on my arms, but I also get these little, if I bump my arm, I get a blue patch for a while. And I've talked to the dermatologist about it, and they say it's just that your skin is thin from sun damage, because I didn't know when I was young that that was such a bad thing to do, being out in the sun. So I'm trying it just to see. And to tell you the truth, this is just speculation here. I have noticed that I'm getting less of them, and if I get one, it goes away within 48 hours now when I use this cream. So I'm going to keep it for a while and just, you know, I mean, I really thought that I'm sounding like a commercial here. I don't mean to do this, but the truth is I did see a difference when I started using it on my face. In fact, they have a thing where they asked people to use it for I think it was 60 days, 60 or 90 days. Take a picture before you started using it, and then take a picture after and send it to them. And so I did it because I thought that there was a difference. So I think they're using that for research. So they're a little different than the average cosmetic company. And I think if any of them have something going for them that might have some medical backing to it, I think maybe this one might. So anyway, that's what.
It's the first one I've heard. I mean, I was surprised that Bobbi Brown would say that that's the moisturizer she uses. So, and you're saying it also. Oh my God. So now I've got to do some research into that also. What about, you switched from Chanel. What are you using now for
I only switched from the Chanel skin creams. I developed an allergy to the moisturizers and those, but the makeup never bothered me. I still use the Chanel makeup. I use the Chanel.
You know, just to let people know about, I don't know if other people have experienced this. I was using, oh my God, what is it? It's a coconut, is it Parker coconut cream, moisturizing cream. And I was using it on my body. And I couldn't figure out why I was breaking out. And I even went to the dermatologist and nobody, and I didn't put the two together until I stopped using it, because I realized I put it on and the next day my whole chest was all red. So there really are, and I was also using a very expensive essence on my skin, and it was something like, I don't know if it was Strivectin 2, something like that. And I broke out in all of these red sores. And again, I didn't put it together. And the doctor didn't put it together. So you do have to be careful. And if you break out, it's something you're putting on.
Right.
It's not some weird disease. It's something you're putting on your skin.
Yeah.
And maybe it's new.
I think a lot of them do say, try a patch test first, before you start using this. But how many of us really do that? We don't do.
I never. And I never do anything scientifically. I mean, I guess what I should do, you put it on half of your face, but I'd forget which half. So who knows what it would be. I mean, I have an incredible patience for some things, but not for makeup stuff. So I don't have it for that. So you also on your YouTube channel, you also have people ask you questions and answer. Well, wait, I'm going to go back to Facebook. What do you do on your Facebook channel?
It's basically the same as Instagram. It's for the people that don't subscribe to Instagram. I have a lot of friends my age that aren't doing Instagram. They're only doing Facebook. I think a lot of the older people tend to be on Facebook as opposed to Instagram. So actually, I wasn't going to do a Facebook. I thought having an Instagram was plenty. But then Amazon, I think it was Amazon, when they offered me the Amazon store, they wanted you to have an Instagram and a Facebook page. So then I ended up having to create a Facebook page. But it's turned out to be good because I have a lot of friends and I'm sure a lot of followers that aren't on Instagram, so they can follow on Facebook.
I've got a problem. Maybe I shouldn't be because I've got two names. I've got Sandra Sallin, and I've also got my blog, which is apart from my art, which I haven't been doing anything on. And I didn't know which one I would emphasize. Well, I'll have to talk to you about it later, because I'm not on
my Facebook name and my Instagram name are the same. So, very often it's the same post. A post that goes up on Instagram, very often that same post will go on Facebook. But then there's things on Instagram like this Instagram Live that is not going to show up on the Facebook site, so. Oh, but the other thing about my blog or website, whatever they call it now, there is a place on my website where you can follow Instagram without being on Instagram. At the bottom of my homepage, all of my Instagram posts show up there at the bottom of my homepage. So if somebody who's not on Facebook or not on Instagram wants to follow me, they can just do it by going to they have to physically go there. They're not going to get notified every time there's a post up, but they can go to a moment with Leslie B, and there they can also follow Instagram. They can look at my fashion posts, they can look at my blog writings about life and aging, and they can also keep up with what's going on Instagram.
Leslie has models clothes just beautifully, and they all look wonderful on her, I must say. How has Instagram and the people you've met on Instagram or on Facebook, has it changed your vision on aging? I know most people, a lot of women are terrified of turning 50. They're terrified of turning 40.
Yeah.
And it's just
it has reinforced everything that I feel about aging. I mean, I get letters, lots of letters every day from women telling me, that they just felt like, what's the point when they got to a certain age? Because nobody cares how they dress. Nobody cares what they look like. They've lost interest in their hobbies. They don't know what to do with their time now that they've retired or they've lost a spouse. They don't have the self-identity that I think women should still have as they get older. I mean, so many women live their lives being the mother, the wife, the teacher. I mean, whatever they were relating their identity to wasn't just themselves. And I think that's really important when you're aging, that you still have to be involved in life. You have to still have a purpose, and you have to still like yourself. You have to still be happy with the person that you are. And that's why when the younger people write to me, I tell them, plan ahead to the person you want to be when you're older. Don't just think about now. Think about, well, what do I want my life to be like when I'm 65 or 75? Because so many women just go along, and all of a sudden life takes them there. All of a sudden they realize they're 65, 70 years old, and they don't know where to go from there.
I think one thing that women need is curiosity. Curiosity and the willingness to try something new. I have girlfriends, they're going to probably kill me, who have been afraid of computers, afraid of learning, don't have the patience. And there's a whole world that is out there for you on the web, on places like Instagram, on Facebook. I can't tell you the friends I've made on the internet. They're wonderful women. And it's just if I didn't have COVID, I'd be up north immediately and seeing all my buddies and talking to them. It's made a huge difference and expanded my life.
I feel really.
And I think
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just reading something. People want to know if you've had cosmetic.
I don't believe in any of it. I don't believe in doing that. First of all, for myself, if I change my face or I do Botox or a facelift, I'm never going to know what I would look like really when I'm older. And my curiosity would, I just want to know, what good is all this exercise and living healthy if I never get to see the results? Now, I just don't like the way women look after a facelift. I just don't think it's as nice. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I see the before and after, and I like the before. It's just, I know people write to me all the time and ask me about that. I think it's futile. I think chasing your youth is just a waste of time. You can't do it. You're never going to get it back. And if you have a facelift at age 50, it's not one and done. You're still going to start aging again, and you're still going to have to keep doing more work. So I don't know. To me, it seems like there's better places to put your energy and your interests, and that's just my opinion.
You know what? Nobody asks me if I've had fillers or a facelift. I don't think that's fair. I haven't, but I mean, nobody even is interested and says, Sandy, have you had fillers? Or do you have plumping? I mean, nobody. And that's really annoys me. And I haven't. But you know what I'm afraid of? You're an artist. And as an artist, I'm afraid of not liking the results.
Yeah.
And looking in the mirror and seeing, oh my God, that doesn't look like me. Who is that? So I'm afraid of the results. So
medical
that's why
procedure.
I haven't done it.
It's a surgery, and there's always risks with any surgery. There's infections. I can't, obviously there are some people that do it and they're very happy with it and it's good for them. But for me, when people ask me, the truth is, I don't believe in it. I think that's why I promote style, and learning who you are as you get older, your own style, and creating interests that are reflections of who you are, because you can't keep your youth, but you can certainly keep developing your style. I mean, that's totally under your own control.
So I want to tell you all a story. The other day, I FaceTimed with Candace, and she was walking on. Were you walking on the beach? You were walking on the beach. You just arrived in Florida.
We talked after the rain, and I had gone out for my morning walk, and I had that the workout top on.
Right. She looked so good. She was wearing this white workout top, and she had makeup on. minimal, but she had makeup. And she so shamed me. You know, guys, I've been going online with my bathrobe, no makeup, and my hair looking like just ridiculous. So the next day, I just like to let you know, the next day I just put a little blush on and I tried to comb my hair. And maybe I didn't even wear my bathrobe. I might have even put a sweatshirt on, but I was so inspired and thought, oh my God, Candace goes out for a walk and exercise and she looks so good. So I'm trying to be better looking when I'm
well, part of that is that
facing the
my
world.
SPF is in my makeup. So, you know, if I'm going to go out in the sun and go walking and stuff, sometimes I think it's just easier to put it on first thing in the morning, and then I don't have to worry about, you know, remembering to put it on.
You know, I've got the one I've got is called Tizo, and it's 50. And you're right, I should put that on. Although going into the kitchen is not quite the. I may not need it there, um, but you. I mean, bottom line, you're very inspirational to me. You know, because
I'll be
now,
75
how old
next
are you?
month.
So this is what 75 can look like. You know, if you take good care of yourself. You know, she's that's why I'm exercising, eating properly. You love painting. You've got, you know, interests outside of, I don't know what, but she's a painter. She does it all. And oh, I'm so impressed with the way you've got YouTube and Facebook.
Well,
You've got it all together. It's impressive. I don't
you
have mine
will
as
soon.
together as you do. Well, you inspire me. So we all need inspiration. As I say, so you inspire me. And do you do all of your cooking? Do you like make a bunch of vegetables at the beginning of the day, the beginning of the week?
First of all, I don't like to cook. I know you do, and your stuff that you make is great, but I think I just, you know, when I owned the senior housing community, my days were long. I was working long hours. I, you know, worked till 6 o'clock at night, and I'd come into the kitchen and go, oh, what am I going to do about dinner? And because I like tons of vegetables, years ago, I just started making up things. I'll make up my vegetables, or I will sometimes buy them. There's a lot of grocery stores now, like Whole Foods and stuff, that make up hot vegetables, and they make them quite healthy. They make them with olive oil. And we have a Wegmans. I don't know, you probably never heard of Wegmans, but they're famous for that kind of thing too. So I will go shopping and I will buy containers of vegetables, and then I'll come home and I'll divide them up into little oval freezer container, 1-serving freezer containers. So if you open my freezer, I've got rows of Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, squash, you know, and then half the time I make them, half the time I buy them, depending on how busy I am. But when I make up a pan of squash, I, again, divide it up into these containers. So for me, fixing dinner, Greg is a meat and potatoes guy. So he, you know, like, so when I'm just worrying about what's going to go on my plate, I empty out about 4 of those containers, and then, you know, maybe I'll cook some salmon. I'll roast some salmon in the oven, or, you know, roast some chicken, or very often it's just all vegetables. Very often I'll decide just, you know, to have all the vegetables. But I mean, they're good for you, and I really think it's part of, you know, it's part of aging well. I think what you put in your body is what your body operates off of. So, you know, I really think that the exercise, which you and I agree is like the closest thing to the fountain of youth. If you exercise and eat right, I think you're way ahead of the game.
You know, everything I read, and it really annoys me because for, I'd say, 2 years, I barely exercised, but everything you read says that exercise is the key. And it almost, you know what else? Guys, do you have Apple Watches? Because you need to close those rings. I mean, that's fun to do. If you stand up enough, and if we could all close our rings, that would be great. I'll have to start a movement of closing rings.
Yeah, I wear my Apple Watch so that I can, you know, so I can figure it out at the end of the day how many rings I've closed.
Isn't that something? And it's so exciting when you see one of the rings closing, and it's like fireworks and you're being rewarded. my son loves doing it and getting those seals. So he works for a seal. I never can, I don't think I've ever gotten a seal unless it was a 1-day seal. But by wearing your watch, and it reminds you that you should stand up, and you look at the little rings and see how much you need. The other day, I climbed up 6 flights of stairs.
Wow.
No wonder I was exhausted. I didn't even know I was doing it. Well, that's
Oh.
climbing up in the hills. But I mean, that's a lot. So I think I'm going to cool it a little bit.
Yoga.
Just cool it. Okay. I'm gonna do your yoga.
I really think that yoga is like the best gift you can give yourself. I mean, everything you want to hold on to as you get older, flexibility, balance, strength, it all comes from yoga. I mean, you get that automatically if you do yoga. That just comes with it.
Okay. I mean, I must say that I've seen young women who've done yoga and have the most gorgeous arms. I mean, I don't know. I never thought it built muscle,
yeah.
But I guess.
Oh, there, plank pose, when
does.
You're holding your entire body up on the side of one foot and one arm, that definitely builds muscle. But you know, it's great for, I have osteoporosis. I don't have the pre-osteoporosis, I have the osteoporosis. And I made a deal with my doctor. She wanted me to go on the meds, and I wanted to try to do it naturally with weights and yoga. And so we gave it 5 years between tests. And when I had the next DEXA scan, I had not lost any more bone mass. And that was strictly from weights and from yoga. Now I'm going to do another one in a year or so and see if I'm still able to, you know, hold my own and not lose any more bone mass. But so far I'm doing good with the weights. But that's another thing that makes me really devoted, because I need to do that. It's either going to be doing that or taking medicine, and I don't want to take the medicine. So it's just a personal choice for me.
Now, this is a curiosity to me. Who, and maybe this is the wrong place to ask. I mean, who thought up yoga? I mean, I know you're going to say a yogi did, but I mean, where did it, how was it developed?
5,000 years ago in northern India was the first recorded proof of people doing yoga. And I can't tell you the name of the man that they talk about, but yeah, it's 5,000 years ago. And you know, something that's lasted 5,000 years, there must be something to it. It's been around a really long. Yeah, look it up.
I'm going to look it up, because that's fascinating to me, as you say, 5,000 years, and so they must be doing
that's what I think too.
Right.
I mean, just I know from doing it all these years that it's definitely, you know, I'm sure I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't been doing yoga.
I do think that as you age, that I know how important balance is, and I know that that's part of yoga is balance. And as you say, being able to bend down, being able to get up, being able to be flexible and move. So I think what I'll do is probably do like 1 day yoga, 1 day walking, or climbing the hills.
That's,
kind of alternate it. But what about you're going to laugh. Is yoga also stretching?
Absolutely. Yes, totally.
Because it doesn't feel like when I was doing these stretches that killed me, I don't feel the pain. So, they say no pain, no gain. So, but you're still stretching.
If you're doing the yoga, if you try doing my yoga with beginner yoga with modifications, and you do all 8 sessions, then tell me if you felt the stretching.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm making a promise. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing Leslie's. I'm doing Candace's yoga with modifications. And now you did mention that I should do it with a mirror. I know one room. I mean, I know where I can go, because as long as I don't have to stretch out too far. Maybe
that's the good thing about yoga. You don't need very big space. I mean, down here where we are in Florida now, I've just got a really small space in our bedroom that I'm doing yoga, and it's going to be fine.
Okay. And now I also have a nephew who teaches yoga. Do you think I've called him? Do you think no, I go, to Candace. I'll have to tell my nephew Yoni and say, I'll tell him what I'm doing. He'll be so excited. I've never, his class is too far away. Anyway, Candace, this is delightful. I'll put your where people can find you, and I'll save this and people can find you, and I'll put Augustus Bader stuff there and what have you, whatever we've discussed today. And I'll be going straight over today. I didn't exercise yet. So today I will do your yoga today. And I want to thank you.
I'll be anxious to hear how you feel about it after you do it.
I will too. Great. I'll let you know. You're a delight.
Sandra, it was great to talk.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.